Oh boy, this one's gonna be tough. If any of you were to take a gander at my channel, you might surmise that I'm a big fan of this small indie franchise called Super Mario Bros. You might have heard of it. Slowly over time, as I've started to make an identity for myself on this platform, I've become more known as the guy who does character studies on the Mario franchise's most popular characters, analyzing them, going deeper than most people are willing to go to find what it is about this cast of characters that makes them so special. One of my crowning achievements as a creator on this platform is reinforcing the idea that a lot of these characters aren't just mascots, or vapid one-note characters meant to fill up party game slots. They're real, tangible characters with arcs, meanings, and themes. But because of the nature of the franchise, these moments where the characters get chances to really show all sides of their personality and characterization, they are very few and far between, with the RPGs being the only real consistent outlet for great, consistent characterization for a lot of the main cast. Which is why I really wanted to like the Super Mario Galaxy movie. A movie is a perfect place for these usually static characters to get fleshed out arcs, personalities, and dynamics with other characters. All of that on a big screen in front of millions of people to enjoy, to cement the fact to casual fans that yes, these characters can and should be fleshed out more, and can be real characters. The first movie I really liked when it came out, but I rewatched it in the last month or so leading up to the Galaxy movie, and in hindsight there's a lot of stuff it's really lacking. But I was willing to give it a pass because it basically just existed as a prologue for this one. Similarly to the first Sonic movie, it exists to justify the existence of these characters in this setting interacting with one another. So I was hoping that a lot of the issues that I had with the first movie in hindsight, like the breakneck pace and needing to introduce a bunch of different concepts at once, and the lack of real depth to any of the characters would be alleviated by this sequel. You've already introduced the majority of the primary characters, so you don't need to worry about spending a considerable amount of early runtime introducing them, and can focus on introducing the new characters like Rosalina, Bowser Jr., and Yoshi, as well as fleshing out the already existing characters and giving them more moments to be themselves. Going off of the trailers and the scenes they shared before the movie came out, it seemed like they were going to be tackling Mario and Peach's romantic relationship, which was really exciting. And you were pulling from Galaxy, of all games, one of the most emotionally and story-driven mainline Mario games ever made. Well, I saw the movie the week of its release, and I went into it wanting to like it. I desperately wanted this movie to be everything that I'd want out of a Mario movie, and I left it feeling very mixed on the whole experience. There were parts of it that I liked, there were parts of it that I really liked, but for every great scene or interesting concept, there was a scene that either didn't contribute to the overall movie at all, or a scene that could have been great if given the proper build-up or breathing room. There is so much here that could have been fantastic, and if given enough time, could have been some of the best Mario content out there, but instead what we got was okay at best. Getting my spoiler-free review out of the way now for those of you who haven't seen this movie, it's about a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7 depending on how I feel on any given day. There's enough isolated scenes that I really enjoyed, and enough of the appealing visuals to say that I was satisfied with my overall experience, but there's so much that it's lacking. Whether due to the direction that Nintendo wanted to go with these movies, or the complete incompetency of Illumination Studios to make anything of substance, I was left wanting a lot more, despite my surface level enjoyment of the film. Unfortunately, the concerns I had in the video that I made prior to the movie's release was very warranted. So I might as well get started, because there's a lot I want to talk about. This is your last warning for spoilers, because I'll be talking about a lot of the details from this movie, so back out now if you want to go into it blind. Firstly, I want to start with what I think this movie's biggest crutch is, and unfortunately it never really recovers from it. The runtime. This movie clocks in at an hour and 38 minutes long, only 6 minutes longer than the first. With how much this movie has to juggle between introducing Yoshi, Rosalina, Bowser Jr., Fox McCloud apparently, and all the characters that were introduced in the first movie like Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, and Toad, that by itself is already a lot, but then outside of the main plot of them needing to save Rosalina, who gets kidnapped in the first 5 minutes of the movie and then never does anything cool again, I'll get to that, don't worry. There's also all of the relationship subplots like Peach realizing that Rosalina is her long-lost sister, or Mario's budding crush on Princess Peach, or Bowser and Jr. reuniting and bonding, or Bowser's weird reformation into a good guy in the middle of the movie just for him to go back to being a bad guy 5 minutes later. There's so much here, and rarely any of it gets nearly enough runtime to breathe or impact the plot in any meaningful way. I feel like a lot of these ideas could have been executed better if either the runtime was longer or they cut all the meddling during the halfway point of the movie. In typical Illumination fashion, there's a lot of filler, especially during the second act. The dinosaur and baby subplot is the biggest offender, absolutely. This scene was nearly 10 minutes long and had absolutely no reason being in the movie at all. I'm fine with them getting ambushed by Bowser and crash landing, but this subplot does not add anything to the overall story. It's just an excuse to reference Odyssey and Yoshi's Island and to just give Yoshi anything to do in order to solve a problem that he himself caused. There's also other smaller stuff like the Honeyhive Galaxy feeling really rushed. It only really exists to A, separate Bowser from the rest of the gang, B, have Queen Bee make an appearance, and C, give Mario's trio a port of transportation to Gateway Galaxy. Except it's all handled in the clunkiest way possible. Then there's the fight scene in the casino that, while it was fun to watch, felt like another big waste of time because it didn't really justify the amount of time that was spent on it. It's just another big reference, and the only thing we really get out of it that advances the story is information that could have been obtained in like a fraction of the time that it took for this scene to happen. All of these scenes are given center stage and takes away from screen time of so many different concepts and story beats that could have given this movie a stronger emotional core. The characters that are also given barely any time to react to these plot revelations. The reveal that Bowser has a secret son that no one knew about is brushed off pretty quickly. Mario and Peach, upon learning this information, don't even react at all in the way that I expect them to. Maybe Peach knew because she and Bowser have been longtime enemies, but I feel like the reveal of Bowser having a son would at least shock Mario and Luigi. Minor nitpick, I know, but it bugged me when I watched the movie. The two biggest casualties of this lightning fast pacing, in my opinion, were two big plot threads: Peach and Rosalina's backstory, and Mario and Peach's romantic tension. I already know that the introduction of this idea is going to be very divisive among the community, but after the initial shock of them actually committing to something like this, I didn't really have a problem with the idea of Peach and Rosalina being siblings. If anything, it's surprisingly fitting. One of the biggest overarching themes of the Mario franchise is family. Mario and Luigi, Bowser Jr. and his Koopalings, Wario and Waluigi, yes, I think they're brothers, you can fight me on that. Plus, despite that awful game theory video, I think it was always meant to be implied that Rosalina in the games was supposed to have some sort of familial connection to Peach. Whether via siblings or mother or daughter is sort of left up for debate. And surprisingly, it is supported by the games. I think a lot of us forget about this detail, even I'd forgot about it until I went back and refreshed myself from Rosalina's backstory, but she did have a younger brother before she left Earth. So the idea of her having a sibling is supported by game lore. Though, unfortunately, not only is this backstory not nearly as compelling or heartbreaking as Rosalina's original backstory, but what they tried to replace it with is just not dived into enough. This was clearly meant to be the emotional core of the movie and the major through line, but the emotional beats they tried to hit just completely missed the mark, to me anyway. We get one scene towards the middle of the movie where Peach recalls vivid flashbacks of when she and Rosalina got separated, but that's all we get until the actual reveal, which happens right before the third act, so we don't really have time to linger on it before we jump into the big final fight. She doesn't really open up about this to anyone either. I would have really liked a scene in between where she confesses to Mario that she doesn't know what to do when she meets her. They'd been separated for so long that she's worried that she might not recognize her or she may not live up to her expectations. That would have been really sweet and would have been a nice moment between the two of them, and it would have elaborated on their actual relationship before they were separated. And it would have further added on to the relationship subplot of Mario and Peach, which leads seamlessly into the second unexplored conflict of this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that they're actually addressing the romantic part of Mario and Peach's relationship. Them actually trying to expand upon the relationship that was set up in the first movie was really nice to see, especially after that whole obnoxious uproar about them being just friends based on a website description. Them sitting on the roof of the castle, Peach being longful for her home, and Mario being playful with her, and Peach being both giddy and grateful for his thoughtfulness was a really cute scene and felt like it actually had time to breathe. But after that, it's mostly treated as a joke in the one other time it's brought up before the third act. I appreciated Luigi's teasing and subsequent sincerity in giving Mario motivation to be upfront with his feelings, but again, it's all played up for jokes mostly. I also wish we had at least one scene where we get Peach's side of the dynamic. Every scene except for the two at the end show Mario's side of the relationship, but we don't really see Peach open up about how she feels about Mario, how much she values his companionship and trust, none of that. Part of this, I think, is because she only really had the comedic relief guy to confide in, so that doesn't really help. But a scene where she opens up to Toad about how she feels about Mario, and Toad giving her some advice would have been nice at least. Showing that they both have mutual feelings for one another, but just don't know how to express them. It would have been a really funny and cute back and forth that just didn't really get explored upon. Any other scenes with them that aren't what I just mentioned, or Mario fumbling, is the two of them aura farming together, or just genuinely being the best scene in the movie. I promise I'll get to it soon, just let me get through all this. I think one of the biggest negatives of this movie that I think we'll see a lot more of when reviews from fans start coming out more, especially one taking a lot of imagery and theming from Mario Galaxy, is that Rosalina got completely shafted throughout the entire runtime except for the beginning. Being that she's the character that most people think of when they think of Galaxy, Her blatant lack of involvement in the film up until the very end of the movie feels really disappointing. She feels more like a plot device than an actual character, because she only exists to be a power source for Junior's nondescript doomsday weapon, and have familial ties to Peach to give her motivation to go save her in the first place. We don't really learn anything about her, what her deal is outside of how much she cares for her Illumas, her regret of having to separate herself from Peach for her safety, the loneliness she carries from being separated from her home for so long. Literally everything about the character from the games that made her so special and made millions of fans around the world ugly cry is now gone, and what we got in return is so vapid that it's hard to see them as the same character. The only one of the three, technically 4 new characters that they introduced that they did an okay job with was Bowser Jr. Besides Benny Safdie's okay performance and me wishing they got a real voice actor to play the character, I feel like the characterization of Jr. was probably one of the more faithful takes in this movie. He's got a lot of gremlin energy, and he just wants to rule the world alongside his dad and make him proud, which is a pretty good translation of his shtick from most games. He didn't set my world on fire, but he was fun to watch, and there were some pretty creative uses of his paintbrush. I don't know what you'd call this purple form that he uses a lot, but it looks super sick and led to some fun fights. Their approach to Bowser and Junior's dynamic was probably the best executed of the different emotional beats that they were going for, mostly just because it had the most scenes dedicated to it. They didn't really bother trying to explain why Junior was mysteriously absent from the first movie though, just saying that Bowser shipped him off to boarding school, though it's implied to have been a long time since when they reunite they act like they haven't seen each other in years. There's an attempt to give Bowser some sort of moral conflict and have him genuinely try to reform, and his loyalty is split between the Mario brothers and his son, but they drop that in like one scene and Bowser's just back to being a bad guy again. Cool. Kind of an interesting way to take Bowser's character, and I wonder if it'll impact future movies in any way. Probably not, but for the most part, Bowser and his son's relationship is given a decent amount of breathing room, and I like the scenes they shared together. And Fox. Oh my gosh, Fox. Why are you here? I love Glenn Powell, don't get me wrong, and I'll be honest, out of all of these new castings that they had for this new movie, he definitely fits his character the best, and for as little he directly interacts with all the main characters, I liked the scenes he shared with them. But why is he here? Was there a reason to throw Fox McCloud in here for no other reason than to have older fans point at the screen and potentially set up a theoretical Smash Bros. Universe, or get the idea of a new Star Fox game back into the minds of fans? I don't hate that he's in this movie. But his presence here just confuses me. They make the barrel joke twice. Oh my god. And he doesn't even say mission complete at the end of the movie. What do you guys do? I think my last big complaint that I have before going over everything that I liked is that I'm not super happy with how they treated Mario's character. Just what I was worried about. Mario felt like a side character in his own movie. Because the attempted emotional core revolves around 2 characters that aren't him, he doesn't really have a whole lot to contribute to the film emotionally. The only thing he really has going for him is, again, his relationship with Peach, but as we talked about before, that plot has like 4 scenes dedicated to it max, and only one of them lasts for over a minute. I don't think him taking more of a backseat for the sake of Peach is a bad thing altogether though, since she does have more emotional stake in the major conflict. Mario is a very static character in the game, so he doesn't need to have a new arc to overcome every movie. That's not really what I'm saying. But one of the key traits of Mario that I feel like isn't talked about as much is his emotional availability. He's such an openly honest, caring, and empathetic man that many people feel naturally at peace around him and feel like that they can confide in him. That's something the first movie never really addressed, which is fine because there was no real reason to, but in this movie I feel like they passed up a lot of moments for Mario to allow Peach to let her guard down. I think Mario and Peach sharing the main character role, and Mario serving as a sort of emotional support and stability for Peach, who's dealing with some world-shattering revelations about her past and where she's from, while both of them are actively struggling with their own mutual romantic feelings for one another, would have been a really great basis for this movie. And I think that's what they were trying to go for, judging on some fleeting scenes that we see from the 2 of them, but it's undercut by the fact that Mario does jack all during the second act. After his fight with Bowser Jr., the only real thing that he contributes to the film is meeting Queen Bee, freeing Bowser from his blue mushroom imprisonment, and getting turned into a baby. Though, the scenes that he does get to be a more active character and gets to resemble his game counterpart, it's some of the best scenes in the movie, without a doubt, which I'm happy about because it is the Mario Galaxy movie after all. It should be about him in some regard. And I know what some of you are going to say, and I see it come up often when I see other creators like myself criticize content that's geared towards kids, and that's that. It's not meant for you. It's just for kids, bro. A, that's not a valid excuse to explain away all forms of criticism, and B, just because a movie is meant for kids doesn't mean it has to be mindless noise with zero substance. Kids deserve good shows and movies too. It's not an excuse to be lazy with your plot and characters. DreamWorks and Disney, well, older Disney, are beacons in this department, creating animated movies that were geared towards kids, but they were layered masterfully with themes and ideas that kids could take home with them and apply to their own lives, and giving them well-written characters that they can enjoy and identify with and carry with them. Unfortunately, that mantra has faded as Disney's focus has directed more towards live-action remakes, and DreamWorks' library has become very hit or miss recently. But occasionally, a real masterpiece will slip through the cracks, like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That movie is one of the best films, animated or otherwise, of the decade, and it's designed for kids. But they're layered with themes and messages that both the kids and the parents taking them to the theater can identify with. And if you want to look towards animated movies based on established IPs that do the same thing, look no further than Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, or the Lego Movie, or the Spider-Verse movies. Heck, even the Sonic trilogy knows this. Kids deserve good movies too, man. I don't know why we feel the need to deflect any level of criticism just because of its target audience. The first Mario movie didn't really attempt to have any deeper themes to its story, despite some great brief moments of characterization of some of its cast, and was framed very much as a fun, nostalgia-filled ride through familiar locations with iconic characters. And I think that's why I'm more frustrated with the sequel than I was with the original, because it was clear that they wanted to try and do something interesting with this cast, but gave up halfway through or something. Okay. That was a lot of complaining and nitpicking, and despite the tone that I took during some of those sections, I truly don't hate this movie. There was actually a decent amount of it that I really liked. I thought the first and third acts of the film were actually really solid. I thought the opening fight scene with Rosalina was really cool and had some really pretty visuals. Despite Rosalina being the all-powerful cosmic guardian of the Mario universe, we rarely actually get to see her fight at all in the games or do anything super grand besides resetting the universe that one time. So seeing her actually fight and do all sorts of cool space magic was really cool to me. Even though she felt more like a plot device than a real character, I thought her brief interactions with the Lumas was really sweet and really the only aspect of Rosalina's character that they got right. I thought the birthday party scene in its entirety was a really fun slice of life bit. It was a nice way to reintroduce us to all these characters and help implement Yoshi into the group. Oh yeah, speaking of him, I thought Yoshi in this movie was alright. He kinda just shows up at the beginning of the movie and immediately cements himself as part of the group, which, ironically, I found really funny. He doesn't really do much of anything of note outside of the dinosaur scene, but I like the trio that he made with Mario and Luigi. I loved that Luigi was in the movie more as well. Like Yoshi, he's definitely more of a background character and doesn't really have many individual moments to shine besides hitting Junior with the Falcon Knee, but he's a pretty fun supporting character, and I like that he and Mario were together throughout most, if not all, of the movie, because their chemistry is great and I love it. The scene towards the beginning where they help out the kingdom while Peach is gone is great. It really plays into the idea that Mario and Luigi are basically the town's resident superheroes, and I love that approach. I enjoyed all the Easter eggs, both the blatant ones and the more cleverly implemented ones. There were various moments where I remember saying out loud to myself, "Oh, that's cute," in reaction to various little references. Overall, I thought the use of power-ups were much more diverse this time around. They used a lot more in this movie, and a bunch of different kinds from various different games, and that was one of the more fun parts for me. The sheer variety in terms of power-ups in the Mario universe is one of my favorite parts about it, so seeing them throw in a bunch of stuff from various different games was fun to see, even if half of them were revealed in the trailers. The third act was actually really exciting and worked for me quite well. Even though you know the good guys are going to win, the very vaguely explained context that Rosalina is made of stardust provides a little bit of tension in that she's literally fading away as the cannon absorbs more of her power. So there is more of an incentive for these guys to hurry the heck up and get to her. Despite Bowser flipping pretty quickly from slightly redeemed good guy to bad guy right before this scene, I really liked his fight with Mario and Peach. Obvious reference to Mario 1 is obvious, but Bowser dual-wielding the hand axes and the lighting of the lava below was really cool visually, and honestly, Bowser was more intimidating in this one scene than he ever was in movie 1. And then, to my surprise, they actually knocked him into the lava. And it's not played for a joke or undercut with anything humorous for a long while. The shock on Mario and Peach's face as they realize that, oh god, we just killed a dad in front of his kid, and the sheer disbelief of Junior after he just gotten his dad back really sold the scene for me. Even though it was kinda obvious what was coming next, I just didn't expect them to actually go for it. And Dry Bowser looks freaking awesome, and his speech after he rises from the lava was like the coolest this version of Bowser's ever been. It is just a top tier Bowser moment in general. Then there's my absolute favorite scene in this movie. Mario slamming the gate behind Peach and telling her to run and save her sister. The look in Peach's eyes, the parallels to the first movie, the hand squeeze, the freaking coolest heck shot of Bowser and Jr. looming over Mario from behind the gate as he squares up with his little battle axe. It's so freaking cool, man. I don't know if it beats the scene from the first movie in terms of characterization, but this one definitely wins out in just sheer aura. I remember seeing that looming shot, and as it cuts away to the next scene, I remember saying to myself, that was the most Mario's ever Mario'd. And then we cut back to him and he's holding his own. This is another thing about this movie that I really liked, is that they portray Mario and Luigi as actually skilled fighters. With the exception of their fight with Junior at the end of the first act, these dudes are jumping around and styling on fools left and right like it's second nature. And here, Mario is fending off a reanimated Bowser and a powered up Bowser Jr. all on his own. At least until he gets overwhelmed and Luigi and Yoshi have to save him. And the following 2v2 is just super cool, dude. I don't know what else to say. Does it beat the final battle from the first movie? I mean, maybe. I definitely like the music and the finishing blow of the first movie's climax more, but there's something about the setting and the tone of this one that just vibe with me a lot more. Like how Mario and Luigi seamlessly swapped opponents and did combos with each other, and the creative use of the power-ups that they had. I love that they used Flying Mario. It's one of my favorite Mario power-ups. I kind of wish he had it for the whole fight and not just the ending, but, you know, Mario Galaxy movie, they had to use a Mario Galaxy power-up. It's a shame he really only did the spin move once, and that was here, especially in this context. At the final part of the movie, it felt more like an obligation rather than something implemented naturally. But I'm glad they did it nonetheless. What else is there? Oh, I liked the That's Amore reference at the beginning. That got a laugh out of me. The Game & Watch and Pikmin references were pretty awesome and unexpected, and there wasn't any licensed music outside of, I think, one scene, which was awesome because it really felt out of place in the first movie. Lord, okay. Whew, I think that's everything. How long is the script now? Oh god. Man, I guess I had more that I wanted to say about this movie than I thought. I guess when I was going into the film, I expected there not to be much to say and for it to be more or less like the first one. But instead, what I ended up getting was a movie that was trying to have something deeper going on with its characters, was trying to set up a deep emotional core, but felt like it gave up halfway and just fell back on what worked the first time and what had worked for Illumination in the past. Honestly, I really think it's just them that are the main problem. Illumination as a studio represents basically the opposite of what I said about kids deserving good, high-quality movies. Somewhere in the multiverse, there's a reality where Nintendo went to DreamWorks instead for these films, and they're probably the best movies ever made, and I will be salty about that forever. But it's not like this duology is irredeemable or anything, though I don't see them making any extra efforts to actually expand on the characters in any meaningful way. Regardless of what they end up doing with Daisy, oh yeah, she's here at the end by the way, it'll probably end up being more the same. Which, even if that was the case, I'd still be mostly fine with that. I just know that these films are capable of being so much more because we saw glimpses of that in this film. But I'm not going to waste your time any further. I know I'm probably coming at this movie a lot harsher than a lot of other fans are. I know critics are eating this movie alive, but who cares what they think. From other fans of the franchise I've talked to, their overall experience was positive, and I'm happy for them. Maybe once I've rewatched the movie a few extra times, my perspective will shift that way too. I still stand by all of my criticisms of the film, but overall, I had fun with it. There's a lot to like, and even the stuff that gets glossed over or didn't need to be there at all was fun, at least for a little bit. I think 6 out of 10 described my feelings on this film pretty well. There's more positive than negatives, but the negatives really drag it down for me. Oof, sorry this video took so long. I didn't expect this review to be as long as it was, especially compared to my review of the first film. But as I continued writing the script and more things came up that I wanted to talk about, it ended up dragging on more and more, and before I knew it, it ended up being 20 minutes long. Hopefully the wait was worth it though, and be sure to let me know what you guys thought of the film. Maybe you guys picked on something that I'd missed, whether it be an Easter egg or a character moment or just something that I had missed. Yeah, with that, I'm going to go take a nap and listen to some Mario Galaxy music while I fall asleep. So, thank you guys so much for watching again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.